Hey, Undisputed listeners. Before we start the show, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com. Reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, are just one click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. Download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com now. Let's start the show. Welcome to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. We've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it. Good morning. Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from LA. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Guys, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Jenny.
Just when I thought 2020 was history, it seems like 2021 is getting at least as crazy.
Yeah, to say the least.
To say the least. Here we go.
Just crazy when we left yesterday. You know, we didn't anticipate what would be unfolding. So we will get to everything that happened. And as you guys can imagine, players and coaches across the NBA were united in response to the United States Capitol building being stormed yesterday. The Celtics and Heat issued a joint statement and took a knee during the anthem of their game, and several other teams locked arms in unity before their games. 76ers head coach Doc Rivers also shared his thoughts with reporters. Take a listen.
It's pretty disturbing, obviously, sad. But what is not is I keep hearing this attack on democracy. It's not. Democracy will prevail. It always does. I'll say it because I don't think a lot of people want to. Could you imagine today if those were all black people storming the Capitol and what would have happened? You know, so that to me is a picture that's worth 1,000 words for all of us to see.
Shannon, what was your reaction to what Doc said?
My reaction to what Doc said was the very thing that Doc said, and I tweeted it before Doc had an opportunity to speak. And Skip, what we got an opportunity to see yesterday is two different Americas. And why the NBA and the WNBA and so many people around the country, especially blacks, have been taken to the streets. It says, we're treated differently. Now, we hear what you tell us, that America is the land of, and America is great. But we're saying we're treated differently in similar circumstances as white people. We're seeing it. And Skip, everybody got an opportunity, just like the George Floyd. We saw the man life leave his body on live television. We saw yesterday on live television two different Americas. And what we saw is that white America doing rioting and looting. The Capitol. Skip, if this was a third world country, and I'm old enough to remember that when in Iran, when they overthrew the government, and I saw the people storm the embassy. Mm-hmm. I remember that. I remember seeing in banana republics where they overthrow and they hold the government hostage and they say, leave or else. That's what it was yesterday. This was sedition, Skip. This is what they're trying to do, is overthrow a government by using force. That's treasonous. You can't do, Skip, you can't, because your candidate lost her. Skip, this is not a dictatorship. This is a democracy. And what it says, the Constitution says, whomever gets the most votes, because Skip, you know, back when they set it up, mm-hmm. people ran against each other. Whoever got the most votes was president. Whoever got the next most votes was vice president. That's how it worked. But somehow along the way, the man that's in office has convinced the people, if I lose, it's a rigged election. Well, what happens if you win? The people love me. A lot of the people, the enablers, from the senators to the Republicans, Skip, have enabled him. They were on the very ticket that he lost on, but they won. Theirs was legit, his was rigged. I heard Jaylen Brown and I heard Jason Tatum, and what they're saying is, how is it now that white America, that we've been asking you to hear us and say there's two different Americas, and you tell us, no, 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 everything's the same. Skip, I want to ask this. If you're not going to treat white America like you treat black America, can you treat black America like you treat white America? I'm not saying they should have been shot. I'm not saying they should have been tear gassed. I'm not sure they should have been pepper sprayed. But if they shouldn't have been that, should blacks get that treatment? That's all we're asking, is to be fair about it. Skip, that's the gut. Now, we saw this earlier, Skip. We saw this in Lansing. We saw them storm the Capitol with their long rifles and their gun and shut it down. Now, we saw this. He was like, oh, well, you know, that's just an isolated. Still remember now, the term they like to use is isolated. Man, that's an isolated incident. We saw what transpired when in Charlottesville. Well, you know, there's nice people, there's good people on both sides. But this is what happens when you enable a person and you allow them to create Godzilla. And then when Godzilla starts trampling the city, oh my God, how could Godzilla do that? Mm-hmm. You made him. You created this. And the black athlete says, you know what? We've been trying to tell you. But because it's never happened, what's happened to some of us has never happened to you, you don't believe it. You don't believe that blacks are treated differently. Skip, it's amazing how when you don't want to confront someone, when you don't want to harm someone, the lengths that you will go through to make sure you don't do that. Now, I saw them help a lady. Skip, I don't know how she got up in the building to begin with, but they had to help her down the stairs. Now, I saw them push a Black Lives Matter protester to the ground and split his head open. I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. I see police inside the Capitol taking selfies with some of the rioters. They're not protesting because I don't understand what they protest. You lost the race. You see what the lengths someone will go through, Skip? If I don't want to harm you, I'll go the extra mile. I see security running back up. They got handguns. He got his hand on his gun now. He never felt in fear for his life. He didn't shoot anybody. Now, one woman did get shot in the Capitol, but I'm like, and as Doc said, I just want to know, Skip. I just want someone to tell me. And I want you to explain it to me like I need to be like 10 or 11. So I'm old enough to understand, but not so much to have formed this too great of an opinion. If 10,000 blacks, as Doc said, had stormed the Capitol when they're going through the process to certify an incoming president, if 10,000 blacks had convened on the Capitol and took it over, do you think the reaction would have been similar or would have been greater? And that's what black athletes, that's what Doc's talking about. That's what Jaylen Brown is talking about. That's what has Michelle Roberts, the head of the NBA PA, Skip. That's what has her seething. These two Americas that we've been telling you that's been in place for 400 years, and you keep telling us no, 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 and now we got a chance to see. What are you going to do about it, America? Because we saw it, and you saw it. I'm good.
You good?
Yes.
I love everything you just said. I believe with all my heart and soul in every point you made. And I have echoed all your emotions for months and years on this show. But in this case, this very rare and unique case of what happened yesterday, I'm not sure any of that really applies to this, because this was an historically, shamefully, shockingly, dangerously unique moment in the history of this country. Our Capitol building got stormed because the man who still sits in the Oval Office wanted it to happen.
Yes.
Simple as that. So this wasn't some garden variety white protest. Let's say a bunch of white people showed up outside the Capitol protesting animal cruelty. And they went over the edge and they stormed the White House and they were allowed to sashay all the way into the Senate chamber. Did that happen yet? Nope, that's not what happened. Can I remind everybody of what happened back on June 13th? Remember that fateful night when our president, who still has about 13 days left?
20th, so whatever the day is for 2 weeks.
Okay, 2 weeks left. 2 very dangerous weeks left. Do you remember that he decided he wanted a photo op at St. John's Church across the street from the White House?
Yes.
And there was a whole bunch of Black Lives Matter protesters.
They were just standing.
Just standing. And it was about 50-50 black and white people. Yes. And all of a sudden, under orders from the Oval Office, here come the riot police. And they are dressed to, quote unquote, kill. Mm-hmm. You remember this?
Yes.
And they resorted to using all kinds of tear gas and
pepper spray,
flash grenades and pepper spray and rubber bullets.
Yes.
They didn't just disperse it. They just annihilated it.
Yes.
They had people running for their lives just so our president could walk across the street and hold a Bible upside down, act by accident, to take some phony baloney photo op picture.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to keep everybody's head in perspective here. So then, what did our president do back on December 19th? He tweeted that big protest in D.C. coming on January the 6th, which happened to be yesterday. Be there, period, be wild. Tweeted our president.
Yes.
Tweets like this got him banned from Twitter for 12 hours yesterday.
You
right?
tweet something like that, you're banned from Twitter forever.
Lord have mercy, would I be? Okay, be wild, he said. And so his zealots, what are left of them, they showed up in force yesterday in a little park not that far from the White House yesterday morning, and it was called Save America Rally. Okay. And obviously he spoke. And he spoke for over an hour to them, and he reiterated that they stole the election from us.
Yes.
So he is inciting his rioters. And he said, we are now going to march down the street to the Capitol building. He directed this whole group of people, I don't know how many thousands there were. We're going to march to the Capitol, and all but instigated what was about to happen.
And cheer on our congressmen that's fighting for
fighting for right, for this election result to be overturned.
Correct.
Because he thought his vice president was going to march before the Senate and the House and say, this must be overturned. And I don't know what he was thinking was going to happen, but he actually conveyed to his zealots that this was the magical day in which the election result was going to be overturned. And they marched down the street. They're already revved up to the point of chaos. And what happens? Help me out here. What are two of the most impenetrable structures in strongholds in our country? Well, one would be the White House, and the other would be the Capitol building.
Correct.
And under any other circumstance, any other day of the year, if any group, I don't care what color you are, if you come up in mass and you threaten to storm the gates, I promise you bad things are going to happen. I agree with you. If it's all black people, then you got a big problem.
Yeah, thank you.
I got it. I'm with you. But trust me on this. Even if you're just a bunch of white people who don't have anything to do with that president sitting in that Oval Office, you're going to have big problems too. Okay, now help me out here. Here's the key detail to all of the above. These rioters, let's call them rioters. Draymond Green called them last night terrorists.
Yes, they're domestic terrorists.
Yes, okay, whatever you want to call them. They're traitorous terrorists, however you want to describe them, because they're not protesters. Were any of them brandishing weapons? Did any of them have machine guns or even drawn handguns or rifles or any? I saw none. I could have been wrong, but I saw none.
But they say they confiscated.
Okay.
They did find bombs outside the Republicans.
Okay, they found 2 pipe bombs.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that they left inside the Capitol building.
Yes.
Okay, but I'm talking about when you have a palace coup, it requires brandishing machine guns. It requires bazookas, right?
I think the biggest thing, what they caught was what they did. The way they were able to pull this off is that they caught them by surprise. And how you catch somebody by surprise?
You can't catch it. It was a planned rally.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
He told them to come on January the 6th.
Okay.
It's like, Skip, you remember back in the 90s when they had the Million Man March?
Yes.
When Mr. Farrakhan told them they have the Million Man, they were prepared for that date.
Okay.
President Trump said January 6th is going to be our date.
Okay. Here's my bottom line to what happened. They were allowed to sashay right through whatever guards there were, whatever cops there were, they were allowed to break some windows and scale up onto the balconies to invade all the way into the Senate chamber.
Right.
Okay. It was allowed because it was an inside job. Yeah. Trust me on this. Again, I don't have any inside info, but somebody had to send down word, let them be.
Yeah. When they was opening the barricade, they were letting them through.
Because if the word came down from the Oval Office, they shall not be allowed. Trust me, they won't be allowed because they didn't have any firepower at their beck and call. It wasn't like they came in tanks or anything.
Right.
They had nothing.
Right.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Help me out. It's the Capitol building. How are a bunch of people with no guns, no rifles, no machine guns, no bazookas, how were they allowed just to pretty much wander right into the Capitol building?
You know
it's because he sent down word, it shall be allowed.
And guess what, Skip? I look like you, so I can blend in with you.
Okay.
So a lot of those guys that's on the force, they support President Trump. And what these rioters and terrorists was coming to do was show support for President Trump. It's easy.
Okay, I got it. And the people guarding the Capitol obviously are at that point in their back of their minds, they're still working for the sitting president.
Yes.
So whatever the order is, we will follow the order. And by the way, where was the National Guard, the D.C. area National Guard? Well, supposedly they had been called and they didn't show up for about 4 more hours because I think word came down they shall not be allowed.
Down.
Okay?
Yes.
Stand down.
Yes.
Because you bring in the National Guard, you got big problems for these rioters, right?
But that's what I'm saying, Skip. You see the amount of refrain?
Okay. Well, what I'm saying, this is a unique, this is a last desperate act of a man upstairs who, to me, forgive me for saying, I don't follow politics like you, but I'm just looking at it from afar, has turned into a madman.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a desperate act.
Skip, he's always been this.
Okay.
But think about what power does, Skip.
Okay.
You don't want to give that up.
It corrupts absolutely.
Yes.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And it has and it does. Okay, so I said it's a last desperate act, and I'm just hoping it's the last desperate act. He did, our president, sent out a message overnight, which he said, we will have an orderly transition on January 20th. Well, I sure hope that we can make it to the orderly transition.
Can I ask you a question, Skip? So Twitter suspends his account for 12 hours, but does he still have access to that football? And you know what the football is, right? The nuclear codes. Yeah. So let me get this straight.
Well, let's not even
social
go
media.
there. I don't want you even to go there. I'm not going to.
Let me tell you something, Skip. I'm going to be all the way 1,000% with you. The reason why this was allowed to happen because white people in America have always gotten what they wanted. And for the very first time, people have spoken out and says, no, we want someone else. And they says, look, we want him. Well, you can't have him. It's like this. We want your lands, Native Americans, so we took it. Blacks, we want you to do this. We want this. Oh, we're going to burn it down. They burn it down. So they've always gotten what they want. And for the first time, Skip, they couldn't overturn the election. He could file no avenues, court after court. Republican, Democrat appointed judges said, no way. The people have spoken. And so for now, what's my last ditch effort, Skip? The reason why President Trump loves dictators, Skip, you remember Vladimir Putin had given up his power, but he missed it so bad he appointed himself back and said, you know what? I want to serve until the year 2037. All the guys in China and North Korea, that's what he loves, Skip. That's what he craves. Okay. But in America, we have a democracy where we vote for the president every 4 years. Skip, I don't care what anybody says. It could have been an inside job. It could have been an outside job. We know this 1,000% for certain. If those were black, it would have never, ever happened. As my good friend Mark Lamont Hill said, if blacks were having a conversation about convening in the Capitol building, they'd have shut it down.
Okay. Now, for the record, let's be 1,000% real. A woman got shot and killed. She got shot in the neck.
Right.
And 3 others of these rioters died, and it has not yet been reported yet exactly how they died under medical emergency. I assume they got hit. They got struck by a billy club. I don't know what happened, but these are all 4 died inside. So this was not a bloodless coup, so to speak. And there were reportedly 52 arrests. So it wasn't like they were allowed to just have their way. Once they got inside, some bad things started happening, just for the record. Not enough, but you know what I'm, and again, I'm not advocating they all get shot, like you said. Okay, but I also want to make it clear that you saw, and you're a lot more political than I, but do you realize every last ally of our sitting president right now, everybody turned on him yesterday through the day, including his vice president? You know that.
Yes.
And as you always talk about Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell, they turned on him. Everybody turned on him. He has no ally left that I can see. And this was the final straw for a lot of people. And I was thinking last night, I have no idea, but we always talk about how Robert Kraft is one of the closest friends of Donald Trump. I will bet you know Mr. Kraft pretty well. I know Jerry Jones pretty well. He's close with Donald Trump. I will bet you both of those men sat back yesterday and said, what is he doing?
You know what?
And had second thoughts about him.
But I hold Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell and Tim Scott and Jerry Jones and Mr. Kraft, I hold them culpable because they enabled him for 4 years. It wasn't until Godzilla started trampling the city that they turned their back. They had Skip. They know the meeting that he had with the Russians was wrong, but they forgave him. They knew the call that he had with the Ukrainian president Zelensky was wrong, and they forgave him. They knew, Skip, he called the Secretary of Georgia, the state of Georgia, about can you find me 11,780 votes. They knew it was wrong, yet they said nothing. It wasn't until all those people that looked like them stormed the Capitol and they had to usher 70 and 80-year-old men and women down to safety.
They did.
That it bothered them enough.
I agree.
This was brewing. The storm was Skip. It's been flashing for a long time. How long will your check engine light stay on before you go to see the mechanic? How long?
Good point. Good question.
And guess what? It wasn't until the engine blew up, put you downside the road that you said, I need to do something. It wasn't until it took this for Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, Ted Cruz.
It took this.
And some of them still went along with it and tried to object to certification. Look at the House.
But a majority of the Republicans said no. Late when they reconvened, they were all going to stage their bids to stop the electoral.
Kelly Loeffler, who lost to Raphael Warnock, said, you know, she couldn't in good conscience, vote to decertify the electors. But you could when you thought it was beneficial for you.
Well, sure.
You see what it is, Skip? Now, guess what? President Trump, Lindsey Graham has no more pull because they lost control of the Senate. Mitch McConnell has no more pull. They're going to be just guys now in the background. So President Trump can serve them no good. They want to eat him up.
That is true.
Now, if you want to see, now you think that was bad yesterday?
Yep.
Let him try to invoke that 25th Amendment and get his butt out of office before these 14 days up, and you watch what happened. They will sure enough act a fool.
I heard a lot of 25th Amendment yesterday.
I heard a lot of it too. But Skip,
I'm just not sure you can execute the proceedings fast enough before the 14, it's really 13 days are out. It's like, well, it's finite already. He's going to get, quote unquote, impeached on January 20th, right?
Skip, we were thinking after the election, what could he do?
Well, there you go.
We saw what he's capable of doing. He incited this. Even, Skip, he was doing this at his campaign rallies. He said, bust him up, beat him up, and police officers, don't be too nice to him. You know how you drag. You push his head down and you do it gently. Just throw him in there. He's been inciting violence, but his enablers, and that's not what he meant. Well, that's what he said. And he said, take me at my word. When I say something, I mean that. He tweets something, he means that. But they did maneuvering and gymnastics. That's not what he meant. He's not inciting violence. What he did yesterday, Skip, they throw people in jail for that.
Yep, I agree. And then remember, mid-afternoon, he posted a video message via Twitter. And he again reiterated, they stole the election from us, and we actually won in a landslide? A landslide? Like, come on. Now you've completely lost it. And what did he end up saying in the message? You people go home, but you're very special.
Thank you.
Very special. Those people that I saw sitting in Nancy Pelosi's office.
And stealing the lectern, and they walking out of stuff. They got all kinds. Skip, he keeps saying, I got the most votes for an incumbent president in the history of in the presidency. But he failed to mention that he lost to a guy that got the most votes in the history of an election. So you got the most for an incumbent, but somebody got the most in the history of the presidency of the election. He got more. Skip, you lost the Electoral College and you lost the popular vote.
Right.
How did they steal it? Why not steal it from Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham, who was also on that ticket?
Yep.
We're not going to steal it from them. You just want you.
So bottom line, nothing like that has happened to our Capitol building since the British burned it down in 1814.
Yes.
They also burned down the White House and the Treasury building.
Yes.
And that will remain on the legacy of what's left of our president.
It will. That's on his legacy, Skip. But you remember, I think it was in maybe late 90s, early 2000, 2 Capitol officers was killed. And they changed the protocols of how you can go and come into the Capitol. Skip, we know, like I said, what was on display yesterday is the 2 different Americas and that we live in. And hopefully, people that says no, everybody's treated the same and everybody's equal, I think they got an opportunity to see. Because you and I both know, if that, man, I don't even want to know what would happen. But it'd have been more than 4. It'd have been more like 400. Skip, the Capitol, those are the 2 most, as you said, the 2 most sacred places in D.C. Because one housed the president and the other housed the lawmakers that enacts the laws that governs the land. Yep. So they will be protected at all costs.
All costs. Yep.
The images were alarming. I mean, it was a dark day in American history, guys, and we're not finished talking about yesterday's events in the nation's capital and the reaction really around the world of sports, because there were so many reactions and many athletes not shying away from what's going on in our country. More Undisputed.
No mercy.
What's up, Undisputed listeners? It's your boy, Shay Sharp. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay Shay, where we always do something before 2 something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay Shay, I've welcomed in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now back to Undisputed.
No mercy.
Well, Tom Brady didn't take it personally when Chase Young yelled out that he wanted Tom after Washington clinched their division. Brady said Young is, quote, obviously a great young player, and we have our hands full with that line. He went to Ohio State, so I think that Ohio State-Michigan thing wears off on him a little bit. Meanwhile, Young isn't backing down, saying, quote, you think I won't be excited to play against the GOAT? You're tripping. I'm not going to apologize for saying I want Tom. So, Shannon, do you think Chase Young will ultimately regret what he said?
I don't think he'll regret what he said. Has said what he said, and I understand the exuberance of being my first playoff game, Skip. But I would have thought he'd have had some of this last week for the Eagles. Man, this is an opportunity. We win this game, we into the playoffs. Oh, I'm looking forward to getting Jalen Hurts. But it was none of that. Now it's Tom Brady. Ultimately, I think at the end of the day, I do not believe they'll win. I believe their defense will play well, but I just don't believe he has the offense to help him out to back up some of the checks that his mouth is writing. So ultimately, I believe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will win. I understand he's confident, Skip. The guy made the Pro Bowl in his first season. He looks like he's going to be defensive player of a rookie defensive player of the year. He was just named NFC Defensive Player of the Month. So he has a lot going on. He's a phenomenal talent. Phenomenal. I love his energy. I love his passion. I love all of that. But at the end of the day, what he fails to realize, Skip, guys not afraid of talking in the NFL. Guys are unafraid of that, Skip. Like I said, he's not in a dominant position. It's not like you going out there and you got the best team offensively of the top 50 guys on the team, on the field. You got 48 of them, like Ohio State normally had every time he took the field. When Chase Young was there, 2/3 to 3/4 of the best players was on his side. Well, that's not the case now. And he's going to find out when you write checks like that, that's a big old check. You better have the cashier in the back end to back it up. You better have the capital to back it up. So we're going to get an opportunity to see. Now, I can tell you, I don't know what network is going to be on, but they're going to highlight the matchup between him and the tackles. Skip, he better not get shut out. That's all I'm saying. I hope he plays like his hair is on fire. And he does what he said. I'm excited because it better not look like you weren't excited to go see Tom and you don't see Tom. Tom jersey better be bloody. He better be looking. Nothing illegal. But Skip, you remember that photo they took of Y.A. Tittle when he's on there? He's all blooded and muddied and he's in the middle of the field and he's like, what just happened?
He just thrown a pick six is what it just happened.
He did.
Yep.
But they had beaten the hell out of him up until that point. Chase, this is what you wanted. You asked for this. Skip, I remember as a kid getting toys, and my grandma said, all of a sudden I would play with it for a little while. My grandma said, boy, you asked for that toy. Now you better get your ass over there and start playing with it again. Okay, Chase Young, you asked for this. You better get your you-know-what out there and put some pain on Tom Brady.
You better set Brady's hair on fire.
You better.
Okay. I remember once upon a time covering a Super Bowl featuring Denver Broncos against the Atlanta Falcons, and there was this guy named Shannon Sharp. Boy, he had a big mouth, but he could back it up.
Yes!
And he talked, and he talked, and he talked, and he got into a war with several of the Falcons, one in particular, as I recall.
Ray Buchanan?
Yep, I would say. And it was hilarious, to tell you the truth. It was shot versus shots fired back and forth.
Yes.
And yet, Shannon Sharp knew at that point he was in a pretty powerful position.
Yeah, I was in the catbird seat.
I would say. Because you had John Elway and you had Terrell Davis. And you had maybe the best offensive line in football.
Yes.
And I can't remember if you're favored. You're probably favored.
Yeah, we were favored, absolutely. Because we had just won the year before. We had beaten Green Bay, Skip. Okay. So I had the NFL MVP in my backfield in TD. Okay. 2,000 yards. I had John Elway. He had gone, this is his fourth Super Bowl. He had won the last one. Ed and Rod had gone over 1,000 yards receiving. Mm-hmm. So I felt very, very comfortable with where I was.
And you had proven a lot in the NFL because I'm pretty sure you'd been multiple Pro Bowls.
Yeah, I had gone to seven. That was my seventh straight that year.
Straight Pro Bowl. Okay. So that's one situation, and this is quite another.
Yes.
I'm not going to condemn Chase Young for what he said because he is, to use his last name and underscore it, he is young.
Yeah.
But I do believe he'll ultimately look back on this with some regret. Obviously, that will be dictated in large part by the outcome on Saturday night and how he performs versus how Tom Brady performs.
But, Skip, even if they lose the game, if he balls out.
Yeah, I'll buy that. I agree with you. I'm giving him some, is what Ron Rivera called youthful exuberance.
Yes.
And I give him some credit because he uttered, these things spilled out of his mouth as he ran off the field on fire with having just won the division, right?
Yes.
At Philadelphia. And he's yelling at basically, I want Tom, I want Tom. He didn't wait 24 hours and let it sink in, and then on a Zoom call with the reporters, very rationally say, I want Tom Brady.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that because he's the greatest quarterback, and I get an opportunity. Skip, you remember after Pittsburgh beat Kansas City? Mike Tomlin didn't think any cameras were around and say what he said. Yeah. Now, the NFL screwed us. We're on a short week.
Because we have to go to New England.
We got to go play the AHs up there. But unfortunately, somebody had that thing Facebook Live. So people say things behind closed doors. I'm not so sure that Ron Rivera wasn't probably saying the same thing. The D-line might have not been saying the same thing behind the closed doors. Because we get, hey, Mike, NFL Films is always there. Mike, turn around, hey, this doesn't get out. Okay. So he says what he says. So if Chase Young wants to get inside, but he said, nah, I can't even hold it.
Nope. I did like his explanation yesterday when he said, hey, I'm excited to play against every quarterback, but especially the GOAT.
Yeah.
Okay, I got that. But in the end, this is a classic case, to me, of you don't tug on Superman's cape. That guy has won 6 Super Bowls in 9 tries. That guy is obsessed with trying to win one more without Bill Belichick, and it's going to have to start this Saturday night at Washington. So you are in harm's way already, and you don't want to exacerbate the situation. You don't want to incite Tom Brady any more than he's already incited, and he's coming off, albeit against weak competition, but the hottest month of his time in Tampa Bay.
It might have been the hottest month of his career.
Okay, it could be. No, it could be. December to remember.
Yes.
So you are tugging on a guy who's turned back into Superman's cape. And Ron Rivera said, I do cringe over it because Rivera's been around this block too many times. He knows what happens. He played for the '85 Chicago Bears with Buddy Ryan. He knows what happens when you say something that gets posted on the rival bulletin board and how it can incite the troops.
So now we make sure, okay, tight end, on your way out, you put your elbow, you put your helmet in his ribs. Back, you make sure on your way out, you make sure Chase Young knows you were there. Now, we're going to run a couple of toss cracks also. Receivers, I want you to throw caution to the wind. If you miss, you miss. But I want you to try and put your helmet in Chase Young's ribs and hit him as hard as God as possibly you can. That's what's going to happen. They're going to make sure early on Chase Young knows that he's in an NFL playoff game, and the stakes are a little different. And you can talk, but you better walk. And that's why you have to be careful, Skip. Guys are going to come play anyway. But now guys are going to be like, okay, we got a little something for you.
Well, there's a side of Brady that I always call Psycho Tom, and you don't see it very often, and it hasn't come out all that much in Tampa Bay.
Right.
Used to see it all the time in New England.
Right.
Running down to the end zone to headbutt with somebody throwing a touchdown pass to. Maybe he's matured at age 43.
No, but he's still one of the first ones down there. When he throw an interception, he's one of the first one down there slapping the guys on the helmet and smiling. And so he's still that, but he's really never had a reason to go to that place that you're talking about. Now he does because someone has called him out.
He has been called out, and yet he said, he gave Chase a little break. He said he's a great young player. And he said, this will be a tough challenge, but this was the operative phrase to me. It's going to be a fun game. That's the Psycho Tom side talking like, I can't wait.
We're going to beat the break. That's what, it's going to be a fun game. We're going to beat the brakes off them.
Right. Okay, so Chase Young has figured out in his first Pro Bowl year as a rookie that you can feel yourself a little more. You can be emboldened a little more because remember, the four other guys he shares the defensive line rotation with, four of them, they're all first-round picks.
All of them.
So it makes you empowered. It makes you feel a little stronger about yourself because, my God, do they not have my back?
Yes.
Who gets doubled? Who gets, well, he'll get a lot of attention. Like you say, he might get more chip attention.
Right.
But those are two pretty good tackles you're going up against. And one of them is a rookie, but he's been really good.
Skip, I might have talked more in Baltimore than I did in Denver for the simple fact I had arguably the greatest defense ever assembled in my back. So y'all can't score. I don't worry about y'all defense. All we need is 7. Y'all go get less than 7. I know that.
Yep.
So I want to see this game.
But conversely, Chase he's got Alex Smith's offense, so he can't look across the ball and say, "You guys got my back?"
Yes. I had a defense that was not going to give up 7-10 points. And I had an offense when I was talking that we was going to score 30.
Well, now let's go play the game.
Yeah, quarterbacks always take the high road. Tom is just like, oh, it's going to be a great, hey, we're just going to go out there. I understand. We watch him on tape. He flies around. He can make plays. We just got to make sure, get all that coaching speak. But they're in there secretly talking, we're going to blow the doors off this team.
I'd like to be a fly on the wall of both teams right now.
They're looking, Skip, the first game, you try to send a message. You try to put the rest of the playoffs on notice.
Sure.
That we are for real.
Yep. Well, here we go.
Connection there. And have you thought about...
And by the way, Tom did bring that up. He said, well, maybe it's an Ohio State-Michigan.
I kind of like it. That rivalry runs deep. And how about just the age difference alone between these two?
Tom Brady don't have to be that man daddy.
It's kind of crazy, right? When you think about it.
What is he, 20, 21, Skip?
There's a pretty big gap there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible. Okay. Just a side note there. But by the way, Skip's Clippers did bounce back from their loss to the Spurs with a win against Steph Curry and the Warriors last night. Kawhi played in his first back-to-back game since April of 2017. That is over 1,300 days ago. I did not do the math there, but kind of crazy. Kawhi played almost 35 minutes and tied Paul George for a game-high 21 points in the 108-101 win. So, Shannon, why do you think Kawhi finally played a back-to-back last night?
First of all, I don't want to give a whole lot of credit for Kawhi playing back-to-back because that's what the hell he should do. He gets paid.
Okay, all right, but he never has. Yeah. I mean, rarely in his career.
I think Ty Lue had a lot to do with this. I think Ty Lue said, Kawhi, these playing back-to-backs, I think that's more a mental thing for you. I don't really think you need the time off. But I think you go, like Jenny said, since 2017, I think you have done it for so long, it's just comfortable for you. I'm not going to play a back-to-back, and that's a mind thing. But we need you. We need you to be more of a leader. It can't be business as usual. I'm doing my thing, everybody else does theirs, and we're going to be good. No, you are the best player. I need more from you. I need my best player on display a lot more than what I'm getting him. So I believe Ty Lue, and that's a conversation because Ty Lue comes with credibility. He played with Shaq, Kobe. He played with Jordan in Washington. Mm-hmm. He coached LeBron and Kyrie, so he knows how to talk to he's been around superstars. He knows how to talk to superstars.
And remember, he was Doc's right-hand man in Boston for championship.
With KG and Paul Pierce and Ron, so he knows how to do. There's a lot of personalities in that mix that I just mentioned.
A lot.
That he understood how coaches talk to certain guys and what they said. So I think he went to Kawhi in a certain way and says, Kawhi, I'm going to need more from you. I'm going to need you to play more. Mm-hmm. I'm going to need you to play some of these back-to-backs. I'm going to need you to be more vocal. It looks to me, Kawhi is a little more vocal on the court. Mm-hmm. That's what it looks to me. Yep. And so I think that had a lot to do with it. But I don't want to, send out no bouquet. I don't want to get my FTV card over, out and have him send some flowers, Skip, for playing back-to-back. Because if anybody that needs to be taken off back-to-backs is my guy. My guy is 36. Kawhi won't be 30 until the summer. So he always should, unless, like I said, Skip, he coming off a serious injury or something. But for the most part, Kawhi fine. Kawhi should have been playing. But that was Pop. Pop enabled him. This is Pop's fault.
Well, wasn't that Pop's mindset for everybody?
But Skip, you got to realize when they started doing this, they started doing this with Duncan, Parkland, Ginobili later in their career, not year 1 and 2.
No, but it was already in place in San Antonio that we err on the side of caution every time. I'm not going to play you back-to-backs. And again, Kawhi, as a rookie, got to see how he was treating the older players and said, aha.
Hell, Kawhi started getting that kind of treatment in year 3 or 4.
Yep.
Tim Duncan, them like, well, hold on, I didn't get that till like year 12, year 13.
No, I agree. By the way, your guy is playing all these games because he needs to pile up
Don't worry
stats.
About my guy.
Longevity stats.
My guy loves the game of basketball. When you love the game.
And I agree with that. He just wants to play. He didn't want to sit.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. I also think Kawhi Leonard loves to play basketball, but he got it in his head, and it became almost like a demon in the back of his mind that, I can't risk this. Yes. And he does have chronically bad knees to the point they're called arthritic knees at his age
10
30,
to 29.
Right? Yeah, 29. So I'm with you. Somebody got through to him, and it has to have been Ty Lue.
Yeah.
It could be Jerry West. It could go all the way up to Steve Ballmer. Because remember, back on December 2nd, there was that The Athletic bombshell about trouble inside the Clippers, how they were a team wrecked internally because of the preferential treatment afforded to both Kawhi and to Paul George, and how obviously it started with Montrez, Lou Williams, the guys who had been there and done all that, and they were putting in the work, and all of a sudden these guys are showing up when they want to show up. They're playing when they want to play. The plane is going when they say it should go, and they practice when they want to practice. At what time, and if they even want to participate in practice.
Yes.
And according to the article, it tore apart the team's competitive chemistry, okay? And obviously, we know what happened, the crescendo in the bubble where it got to that one night, the Kenosha night, when, remember, the whole Clippers team voted en masse, we're out. We don't want
to. 2 teams, the Lakers and the Clippers, say, no, we'll bounce.
And then LeBron went back to his room and a bunch of his teammates. I assume some of the Clippers came by and sat with LeBron, and they kicked it back and forth. And finally, LeBron said, you know what, I'm going to finish.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was reported that LeBron and Chris Paul got on a call with former President Obama.
Bingo. Okay, so remember, they had 11 back-to-backs last year, and he obviously didn't sniff a one of them. So it had been 1,372 days since he played a back-to-back back in April of 2017. And,
you know that's over 3 years, right?
Yeah, I got it. And last night was a game you could certainly arguably miss. You could make a case for missing because Golden State's, they were 4-3, but they
How many days you said it was?
1,372.
That's almost 4 years.
Yeah. Okay.
365.
Okay. I know. Okay.
So he 14, 20, so he pretty close to 4 years.
Okay. So it was a shock to me that he said, I'm going to go at Golden State. It's a shorter flight, obviously. It's not a cross-country flight on a back-to-back.
Right.
But still, it's a team that you could probably... Marcus Morris came back and played for the first time last night. So you could argue that Paul George had missed the previous game. And I'm pretty sure Paul George just took the previous game off.
Right.
I think he did. He had a tweaked ankle, they said. Right. But all of a sudden, Kawhi played, he played. Paul George played and Marcus Morris played, and they were at full strength for the first time. What was the big issue last year? They just didn't play enough together.
Right.
Well, listen, I know Kawhi Leonard well enough to say he is the silent assassin. He doesn't show it on the court, but I think he took that bombshell in The Athletic. I think he took it really personally. I feel like he got called out in it, number one.
Right.
And I think he took the challenge. And he said, okay, I'm going to fix that this year. So their mindset is different. And remember, Montrezl from a distance is a Laker.
Right.
He keeps taking veiled shots at the Clippers. It's all different. You know, I love playing here because they let me be me. I get to do what I want to do, and it's more free-flowing here. And we love each other here. All those shots I interpret as anti-Kawhi shots.
I think the biggest thing, Skip, look, we understand, having played the game of football, as players get older, they get time off. John would take days off. Mike Shanahan, the head coach, would give John days off, would give TD days off. Skip, I ain't have a problem with that. They ain't practice. Hey, but don't.
Okay, those are days off, not games off.
Right. But I'm saying, you want to take a day off of practice, Skip, okay, fine. But don't cancel practice just because they not playing. You're practicing. What that got to do with me? So, and I think the thing is, the guys who looking at it like, hold on, wait a minute, Doc. Okay, if they don't want to practice, fine. But why we got to take our practice? Doc, you said the plane was leaving at 3:30. Here it is, 5 o'clock, and we still sitting on the road. Come on, Doc. Do something about that. And after a while, you're like, so in other words, their time is more important than ours. I understand they're better players. Skip, I don't care nothing about that security detail. Hell, they should have security detail. They're important. LeBron got a security detail. KD, most of the top guys. I don't have a problem with guys having, if you want your massage therapist, that's something you worked out and he's going to travel and be, I got no problem with that. But don't be coming up here late and don't be talking about no practice. All of a sudden we get called practices. What? Practice is off? Nah, I'm going to have a problem with that. But all that other stuff, Skip, that comes along with being a superstar, I got no problem with that.
Okay, so my point to you is, bottom line, here come the Clippers, because he's playing back-to-backs. He's playing a career high. Kawhi is 34 minutes a night. He played 35 minutes last night. He played, of the fourth quarter, 8 minutes and 21 seconds. And he made his 2 shots from the field. He made all 4 of his free throws, scored 8 points. And it was a nip-tuck game for a while in the fourth quarter. And
Steph didn't play well last night. He didn't shoot the ball well at all.
Thank you for bringing that up. I wanted to remind everybody that after he made some Ripley's, believe it or not, 105 straight threes from the corner in practice or after practice, he is now shooting through 8 games 36% from 3, which is his career low. So I guess making those 105 corner threes in a row, which is like impossible to me.
If anybody else other than Steph was shooting 36%, that's a damn good percentage from the three-point line.
But I want to remind you that...
But he's like a 42, 43%
in 2016, his MVP year that year, he shot 45% for the whole 82. I don't know if he played all 82, but for the whole year. 45%?
That's the thing.
He's career 43%.
Right. So anybody else shooting 36%, Skip, you sitting in flowers. Man, you shoot 36 from the 3? Yeah. Steph shoot 30. Man, Steph, you terrible. You
LeBron 36 from 3? That work.
Boy, y'all let us shoot.
If Luka shot 36%, he would be the MVP.
Oh, baby bird. Let's go get that.
Baby Sparrow. He would be,
Baby Sparrow. Sorry,
okay,
every time you
Sparrow.
say that. Oh, I like the nicknames. And he's getting better, Luka. I know, Shannon, you believe in him.
No mercy.
As the country monitored the disturbing events happening in our nation's capital, Celtics head coach Brad Stevens admitted he wasn't sure what would happen to their matchup against the Heat. And after the game, Stevens said, quote, "To be honest, for 30 minutes, I didn't think we were playing." Then coaches left the room and players talked and chose to play. While Clippers players Paul George and Marcus Morris both said that they would have preferred to not play their game last night. So, Shannon, should they have played the games last night or not?
Hell yeah, they should have played. Don't sit out. Why would I sit out a game because someone stormed the Capitol? Skip, normally I would sit out a game for me if I want to honor someone. And when the players did what they did, they were outraged at what happened with Jacob Blake. The players were threatened to sit out because they're trying to make America better. How does what they were doing yesterday at the Capitol make America better? Basically, what they were saying, for the longest time, we've heard our votes didn't matter. So basically, they were trying to say your vote doesn't matter because what the will of the people have put Joe Biden, President-elect Joe Biden, in place. We want to throw that out and say, nah, we want the guy that we want to be in place, even though he didn't win. Yep. So why would I honor that by not playing? I'm playing, as a matter of fact, I would say I want to play 2 games to make sure you know I disapprove of what you guys did. Yeah. So no, Skip, you don't sit out a game for that. If it's a situation where we saw, Skip, you remember the Eric Garner that came out with the T-shirts and the Trayvon Martin, the hoodies. I can't breathe for Eric Garner and the hoodies for Trayvon Martin. Okay, that's the word they cause. For them storming the Capitol to try to overthrow a government, to not adhere to the will of the people, man, no, they should have played and they should continue to play. No, I'm going to disagree. I understand that Paul, entitled to their opinion, he and Senior Morris, but I'm going to disagree with them on this one. They should have played, and I'm glad they did. I'm glad no one sought this one out.
And Brad Stevens said 30 minutes before tip-off, he thought Celtics Heat, no go. Wow. I'm with you, but I will say this. Just when I thought it couldn't get any more bizarre, what we're going through in this country, the last 48 hours, you want to talk about emotional roller coaster ride? Because we went from the Jacob Blake decision to suddenly, within a few hours, we go to Kelly Loeffler loses, and you're like out of your mind. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you go, riding the roller coaster to, wait a second, the sitting president right now has incited and enabled a storming of the Capitol building?
Right.
And then, to your point, back to the black athletes, they're saying, well, what if that had been some of us?
Right.
Well, obviously, we got it.
Right.
Okay, so I get it that your emotions are just jerked all over the place, and it's hard to get your mind right and get it refocused to play a basketball game.
Right.
But that's what you do. You play basketball. And for sure last night, even though part of that was some Jacob Blake going on, right? Some of the pregame kneeling had something to do with the lack of decision, obviously, on Jacob Blake.
I wouldn't have had a problem when the decision came down for Jacob Blake and they said, nah, we good for tonight. We pick hey, commission, we're going to pick this thing up tomorrow.
Well, then you got the right cause.
Right.
But you don't want to give in to President Trump.
Right.
Like, oh, my God, we can't play because you did that.
Right.
Well, now you're enabling him.
Right.
He's winning, you know, if you don't play.
You're exactly right.
Okay. Now, I do want to congratulate all of today's athletes of all colors, because more and more, and you played through an era when there wasn't a lot of athletes standing up and speaking out. Not enough.
No.
You were one. But all of a sudden, I've always said, I don't see athletes as role models because they can fail you quickly.
Right.
But as spokespeople for political causes, racial justice, it's powerful if you unite as one big voice. And we saw what the WNBA players did in Atlanta to the election. I think they had huge impact on that election.
Well, it was reported that Raphael Warnock had a 9%
in August.
August.
Yeah, to 26% for Kelly
Loeffler. And then when the members of her team vote Warnock, it thrust him into the national media. It's reported, Skip, that $500 million was spent between November 4th and the day before the election. So that's how important those seats were. And Reverend Warnock, because everybody started vote Warnock, Skip, the WNBA players started hashtagging vote Warnock. Skip, now, they played for the lady that really cuts the check for their salaries. They said, no, vote for her opponent.
I've never seen anything like it.
I've never seen anything like it either.
And I believe it worked.
Yes.
I can't, it's hard to quantify the impact, but I think it pushed the Reverend over the top in the election.
Yes,
right?
it definitely helped.
Okay, and I do want to say, LeBron James has opened the door and set the tone for all of the above.
Yes.
Because there's never been anyone quite like him to use his platform to speak out for all of these causes. And I'm interested to see what he has to say today. I assume he will be Yeah, he'll be in.
Oh, yeah, he'll definitely go speak. Yeah, because they got shoot around, so they got a game tonight.
Speak after shoot around, he might.
Yeah, right.
He might. But definitely after the game.
Right, I was going to say, Skip, he might not even have a whole lot to say before the game, but after the game, I can assure you, LeBron James is going to weigh in. Skip, I just wonder, you remember there's something that happened and the world lost their mind.
Yep.
I wonder if those same people, because you do realize the ones that stormed that Capitol, a lot of those are the ones that had the problem with what Colin Kaepernick did.
Sure, absolutely.
Now, but I also want to know the people that watched this yesterday, how you feel about that? Are you more upset about him taking that knee, or are you more upset about what they did trying to overthrow democracy here in America? I just watched. That's just for me.
Well,
and so,
wasn't the president the biggest critic?
Yes! Yeah. And they jumped in on it. Oh, yeah. And Jerry, they will go the line. Helmet in the left arm, hand over the heart.
Toe that line.
And that, but Skip, this is, are we really, should we be surprised by what we saw, Skip? This is, and because I think that, like I said, because this is America, but America's done this. America's been to get, if you don't, Skip, if you don't give me what we want, we'll invade you and we'll take it. And so now, people in America that's used to getting what they want says, if you don't give us the president we want, we'll overthrow the incoming president and put this guy back in place. That's what, and he's convinced them. Skip, the tongue is a powerful thing. And we wonder how do you get caught up in a cult? How do people follow Jim Jones and drink cyanide and commit suicide? How do they do this out here, the Heaven's Gate, Skip, when they dressed in black and white? How do they do that?
Yep.
Voltaire, Skip, and I know you know who he is.
How do I?
He said, those who can make you believe atrocities, those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. Skip, he had these people believe that the only reason he lost was because it was rigged.
Yeah.
And because it was rigged, they're willing to do treasonous acts to actually try to overthrow a government to put him in place. That's what the people are willing to do. And these athletes, black athletes, are looking around like, man, I can't believe this. Everybody's being so accommodating. Everybody's being so calm. You know, they're helping them down the stairs. They got pepper spray in the eye, and the police are pouring water to get the pepper spray. I'm like, well, damn, I just watched this movement from May until October, and I didn't see none of this accommodating. I didn't see the police going out of their way to not be confrontational. I see police in New York running over people, the protesters with their vehicles. I see them, you know, in Portland, Skip, they kidnapping people in the middle of the night, getting them off the street.
Yep. Okay.
If you want to, Skip, you can be as nice and as cordial as you want to be. That's just the way, you just treat people nice, accordingly.
So, to your point, yesterday, our president tried to turn us into what people call a banana republic.
Yes!
And I'm not talking about the clothing.
No.
I'm talking about a South American country where that's commonplace.
Yes.
Where the dictator says, I didn't lose the election.
And then you call in the military and the people, you know.
Yeah.
It's that's what you, like I said, you're old enough and I'm old enough to remember when they ran up in the American embassy in Tehran. I remember just like it was yesterday.
Yep.
And it was chanting bye-bye Hopi Cop, which would mean death to America. I remember it just like yesterday, watching it on television. And I see all these, like you said, these banana republics where they go in there and it's like, you know what? We tired of this guy. We're going to get him up out of there. So they storm it, like you say, normally with guns. And they like, hey, get up, get you up out of there. And we saw what they did to Muammar Gaddafi. They had him, and they put him on full display, Skip, and they embarrassed him. They humiliated him. They slapped him in his face. We saw what they did when they took down in Iraq, when they pulled down the statue of what's his dictator name? Hussein.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what they do in countries like that. We've never seen it to this degree, but America's been taking what they want. Give me what I want or I take it. That's what they did to the Native American land. That's what they did to blacks. So now what we see, even so now, they'll even eat their own to get what they want.
Yep.
And we saw that yesterday. And I don't blame him alone. I don't blame President Trump alone. He was enabled because we saw this coming. Oh, he's learned this lesson. That's not what he meant. That's not. And now, Skip, full-fledged. And the athletes, bruh, y'all keep playing. Unless it's a worthy cause, this is not a worthy cause for you to take a knee. Don't honor them jokers.
Keep playing and keep speaking out.
Absolutely.
No mercy.
Well, the playoffs are here, and Saturday on Fox, Russell Wilson leads the Seahawks against Aaron Donald and the Rams. It's all part of Super Wildcard Weekend, Saturday at 4 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Speaking of Russell Wilson, well, he was ranked third on the latest list of playoff QBs behind Aaron Rodgers at 2 and Patrick Mahomes at 1. Tom Brady found himself just outside of the top 5 at number 6 due to his poor performance under pressure this season. So, Shannon, where would Brady be on your list?
Well, I believe, Skip, I would flip in with Lamar. I would put him at 5 for the simple fact I believe he's a better passer than 5. But all these other guys can do something that Brady can't do. They can make plays with their legs. You look at Mahomes, you look at Rodgers, you look at Wilson, you look at Josh Allen. And although Lamar Jackson can make more plays with his legs than all of them, he's not comparable when it comes to throwing the football. So that would be the only one that I would flip, Skip. I would put Brady at 5. I would put Lamar Jackson at 6. Also, they mentioned pressure. But if you go back to his last 2 playoff games, Skip, he did not play well. He did not play well in the Super Bowl. They won. But he did not play well. He also didn't play well his last playoff game in New England. He should have had 2 pick sixes because Logan Ryan should have got him right before the half, and he dropped that one, but he held on to the other one.
Then Logan Ryan got Dak Prescott.
He got literally got Dak Prescott. So that's the only problem that I have, Skip. They're not far off, but I would put him in the top 5, given that he is an all-time great passer. He's an all-time great playoff performer, although his last 2 playoff games are not really indicative of how well he can play in the playoffs and his inability to make plays with his legs. I would put him at 5. But 6, I think is one lower than what I would put him at.
Okay. That is noble on your part. You've actually given Tom Brady 5th ranking in value of which quarterback would you want quarterbacking in your first playoff game. That's the whole point of this, right?
I didn't know what that is. They said he has been ranked 40 in the playoff starting quarterback. Brady was 6. Okay.
Where
would Brady be on my list? I put him at 5th.
Okay. So I'm going to back down this list as you started to do. So Tom Brady 6, as you said, at 5. I love Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
I picked Lamar and company to win this year's Super Bowl, and I'm going to stick with it. But I can't help this. I can't undo history. He's played 2 playoff games that were scary bad.
Right.
Okay? I hope he rights the wrong this year.
Right.
But he hasn't yet.
Right.
And he's still a very young quarterback. What do I know about Josh Allen? Well, you're driving his bandwagon now.
Yep.
I saw him play 1 playoff game last year, and he lost it in overtime. They had a lead that they should have held on to, and he was not very good down the stretch, and they ended up losing to that guy.
But Deshaun made a play.
He made a play. He made a play with legs and arms.
Yes.
And they lost 22-19 in overtime, and Josh Allen was hit and miss in that game, but late he was mostly missed, had a QBR of 43, scale 0 to 100. And you've seen better games from Josh Allen than that one. So that's his 1 playoff resume game. He's 0-1.
Right.
So really, you would take him right now over Tom Brady. I mean, in what world would you take him over a guy who's won 6 out of 9 Super Bowls and is 30-11?
Let me ask you a question. Tom Brady's last playoff game, did he play better or worse than Josh Allen?
I'd say it was about the same.
Okay, then, so I'm taking the young guy.
It was about the same, and you say he didn't play well in the Super Bowl. All I know is he won the game.
He did,
a low-scoring game with another fourth-quarter game-winning drive.
But look at his. But you said look at his QBR, look at his completion percentage.
I got it. But Wade Phillips has always been a nemesis for him, and we all know the Rams are loaded on defense, and you always tell me it starts with Aaron Donald, and so he was up against not only those guys, but a Wade Phillips, who you played for, know very well, and I know him very well. Wade Phillips has always sort of had Tom's number. I don't know how or why, but he just does. So it took Tom a long time to figure it out. But he solved the puzzle in the fourth quarter, and he went 5 for 5 on that game-winning drive, and he hit his man Gronk with that big 29-yard throw down to the 2-yard line that won the game.
But if I'm not mistaken, he had less than 200 yards passing, an interception, no touchdowns.
Well, was it not a defensive struggle on both sides?
But nothing should bother him. He's unflappable. He's the GOAT.
Okay, he is the GOAT.
Okay.
And he's won 6 Super Bowls with 6 game-winning drives in the fourth quarter overtime. That's impossibly great. Who's more clutch than this guy? Who do you? And again, he shows you this year, to me, that he's 43 going on 23. And who has been hotter in December? Well, you even admitted just a few minutes ago, nobody's been hotter, albeit against shaky competition. I got you. But he lit that competition up.
But Skip, Josh Allen been on fire too the last month.
He has been. But just me, if I got my life bet on one game, I'm taking Brady right now at 43 over Josh Allen at whatever. What is he, like 25 or 6, whatever he is?
If he's that old, yeah.
Okay. I'm taking him.
Okay.
I'm still taking Tom Brady. So he's 4th. Then we go down to 3rd, Russell Wilson. That's a coin flip for me because Russell Wilson is decorated in the postseason.
He's unbelievable.
I trust him in the postseason. So that would be a hard call for me. Maybe just because Russell's a little younger. Okay, I'll take him. And they do have a home game while Brady has to play at Washington. And then we come down to Aaron Rodgers. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. All I know is when Aaron Rodgers played at Brady this year, the last 3 quarters after he threw nearly 2 straight pick sixes, he folded like a lawn chair at a Tampa retirement community. It was something to behold. He fell completely apart. He lost his confidence. He lost his way, and they scored 0 points the last 3 quarters of that game as they got routed by Tampa Bay. Right? Okay, so Aaron's always said, just once, I want home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Be careful what you wish for because you got it in a pandemic year in which there are very few fans. There'll be a few. I don't know what.
Maybe a couple hundred.
It looks like about a couple hundred. And they try to turn up the volume on all the songs and the noise.
They might better give each person their microphone so they can yell and scream into the microphone.
Well, again, Brady's path now to the Super Bowl looks like it would have to be at Washington, then at Aaron Rodgers, and then maybe at Drew Brees if they got that far. But do you think Brady's afraid of Aaron on the frozen tundra? No. What did Brady do against Patrick Mahomes the first time they met in a playoff game, obviously in Kansas City? It was freezing, windy, cold. Remember that? And all he did is convert 3 straight 3rd and 10s into overtime to play keep away from Patrick and keep him off the field. And he goes boom, boom, boom right down the field and scored a touchdown, game over. Well, do you think cold wind, do you think the frozen tundra will intimidate Tom Brady? I don't think so. Maybe some of his teammates.
But right now, do you believe Tom Brady's played equal to Aaron Rodgers?
All I know is Aaron Rodgers is 6-7 in the postseason since that one wild card run to Super Bowl 10 years ago.
I think when they did this ranking, Skip, they're not talking about all those Super Bowls. You told me that don't have anything to do with right now. That's what you told me.
Well, no, it adds into it. It's part and parcel of why you would choose somebody. You say, how about experience? Experience counts right now.
They say right now. So Aaron Rodgers doesn't have experience in the playoffs?
He's played a lot of playoff games, but he's played a lot of bad ones too.
Yeah.
Last time I saw him was at San Francisco. He turned it over 3 times. He threw 2 picks and lost to fumble. Had a QBR of 23.
Didn't I see your guy turn it over too? Last time I saw him.
Okay, but I'm just saying, let's not just overreact. Just say, oh yeah, give me Aaron Rodgers.
But my guy one guy got to the championship game. Your guy went out at home in the divisional.
He did, and he had no defense, and he had absolutely no supporting cast on offense, as Cam Newton will tell you right now.
Hold on, Skip. What you mean he didn't have any defense? They
fell apart at the end of the year.
No, not against the Titans.
Okay.
The Titans, they held him down.
Okay. Well,
Brady didn't give him but 13.
Coming apart.
Brady didn't give him but 13.
Okay.
That's
remember,
all they got.
They wouldn't have been playing that first game. They would have had 2 weeks off. They would have had a bye if Belichick's defense hadn't spit the bit against Fitzmagic at Foxborough in that final regular season game.
He threw a pick six. I mean, he was throwing pick six left and right. I mean, last couple of weeks of the season. In the playoff, he started this season with a pick six, and then they're going to the number one. Going to get to my homeboy.
Speaking of throwing interceptions, what did we find out yesterday from Pro Football Focus? Well, they said we ranked Tom Brady 2 spots above Patrick Mahomes. We got Brady 2nd overall for the year versus Mahomes 4th overall for the year because of turnover-worthy throws. Brady had the fewest in the league this year at age 43. Who knew? And Patrick Mahomes was way down the list and had only 6 interceptions because Pro Football Focus concluded he was very lucky in the turnover department. He threw a bunch that should have been picked that were not caught by the defense.
Pro Football Focus basically just said, Skip, it's like me to my financial advisor telling me, you know what, I made some money-making investments. How much money did we make? Well, Shannon, we lost a couple of $100,000. What do you mean? I just need for you to tell me, did we make money or did we not? Did you turn the ball over or did you not? I don't want to hear about no turnover-worthy plays. I don't want to hear about no money-making investments if they didn't make me money. So did they make money?
The tape, and they saw too many throws because he is very careless with the football. He's going to
not more careless than your guys.
No look. He's going to throw it behind his back. He's going to throw it between his legs. Andy Reid encourages and enables potential interceptions that were not caught.
What about your guys? Your guys had a couple of drops too. They should have been picked.
Okay, but we're talking about Patrick Mahomes.
Hey,
so
Super Bowl, the reigning Super Bowl MVP, the first player in history to come from double digits down in all 3 games and win the game by double digits.
Was he down 24-0
down
to the Texans
down
at home in Kansas City? 24-0. And
then what
did
happened?
He have the ball in the first half?
He did. No, hold on. Now you know what happened. Before they went to halftime, that thing was gone.
Yeah.
You erased that.
Were they down at home to the Tennessee Titans 17-7?
Yeah.
Huh.
And erased that.
And wait a second. When he got to the Super Bowl, did he fall behind 20-10 all the way until the middle of the fourth quarter? Did he throw a late third quarter interception?
Yeah.
It's a careless throw. Can we see that?
You know what?
I want to see it again. I forgot what it looks like.
You didn't forget what it looks like.
Here's vintage Patrick Mahomes. This is the guy you love. What?
Fred Warner made a great play.
What are you doing? I think he didn't even see 54. Do you see 54? Patrick, do you see him? He threw it right to him. What? That's no good. And then it happened again. That's late third quarter. Then early fourth quarter, they're still down 20-10. Yeah. They should have lost the game, but he did this again. This is to Tyreek, and it's like,
about it. He was trying to slow Tyreek down. He didn't want to run into that headache.
But boy, he missed him.
He didn't want to run into that headache.
Throw a little side arm here.
Look at this right here, Skip. The headache coming. Look at that headache coming.
He threw him a curveball. He was breaking it. He caught the outside corner for a strike to the defense.
Skip, you know me back in the day, you used to type right. You used to have that stuff to call whiteout.
Yeah.
That's what they call Patrick Mahomes, whiteout. Because whatever the lead is, he'll erase it. And you won't even know it was there. And type right over to say, Jenny, you know what I'm talking about?
You want to talk about lucky? How about Patrick Mahomes mid-fourth quarter? It's 7.5 minutes left. He's facing 3rd and 15 at his 35.
And look at this.
And look at this. He's got a rusher right in his face, and he just throws a punt up to Tyreek. And Tyreek came back, had to come back, break his route off and come back and wave for a fair catch. And he fair caught it for a 44-yard gain that saved and turned the game. It turned it.
It got him.
They're down 20-10 at that point.
That's what my homeboy do. Whatever the lead is, I know you've seen that meme of Kermit the Frog. He on that type right.
Yeah.
That's how he be doing them leads. You get a lead 10, 20 points before you know he in the lead.
Okay, I'm going to remind you, over the last 7 games this year, regular season games, Patrick Mahomes was graded the 9th best quarterback in football, while Tom Brady was at the top of the list. Are you sure? Are you going to bet your life on Patrick Mahomes in a home playoff game?
I don't feel as confident as I did because they didn't play. Skip, I'm not going to sit here and say they played well the last month of the season because they didn't. And if I was Andy Reid, I would have played them at least a half because they hadn't been playing well, and now they're going to be off basically 2-3 weeks because they were off the last game. They got the bye, and they don't play until next week. So I would have played them. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that they played well the last month of the season. But all I know is that Patrick Mahomes was 14-1. That's what I know. And he beat who he beat. The guy that was number 2, that said number 2 on the list.
Yep.
He beat Drew Brees.
Yep.
He beat Josh Allen, who was number 4 or 5 on the list. He did that.
Okay. All I know is I'm confident I invested in Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr.
Yeah, man, I can't believe turnover-worthy plays. Well, Shannon, I invested in some money-making investment. Did you make me money? When you go to your guy, you're like, hey, well, Skip, we did good. Hey, Skip, Mr. Bayless, we didn't do too good. You're like, what you mean?
I'm conservative. I'm low risk.
Yeah. Well, all I know, I agree with Skip. Experience matters, guys. Tom Brady, it will be his 42nd career postseason game. I mean, he's 43 years old. He's playing his 42nd game. That's incredible to me.
No mercy.
Players and coaches across the NBA were united in response to the United States Capitol building being stormed yesterday. Warriors forward Draymond Green shared what he thought the events showed us. Take a listen.
It just goes to show you where this country is, where this country has been, and probably where it's going to stay. To be quite honest, I mean, nothing's changed. I think, through social media and all of these, different things that we have at our fingertips today, you're more aware of things, but nothing's changed. This is the same America that it's been. It's no different.
Shannon, what's your reaction to what Draymond said?
He's right. Social media has given us, we get an opportunity to see people. We see people for who they are because they don't have a problem. They'll hold up the white power, the white nationalism sign, Skip. They'll say the N-word. They'll do things and they're not ashamed of it. And what has happened is that the president, for his next 13 days, I think it's 13 days, Skip, his day is the 7th, so 13 days in office, what he did was allow people to be openly and blatantly secure in their feelings and how they voice them.
Didn't I see a Confederate flag yesterday inside the White House?
And the Confederate flag?
in
the Capitol.
Capitol, sorry.
Yeah, you did.
Yep.
And the Confederate flag represented the Union, which seceded from the United States, so they... Yep. But that flag doesn't mean anything, Skip. That's just a symbol of pride. There's a pride, it's the pride thing. Draymond is absolutely right, because America is actually who she's been, who she's always been, what she was founded on, and social media and other streams have allowed us to see a lot more of America than we previously saw. Skip, we used to think this was isolated. Man, this only happens in this place, or this only happens in that place. And what social media has done is allowed us to see that it happens in every place. And red, blue, it really doesn't matter. It all comes down to people.
Yep.
And it's just sad that people still don't want to acknowledge it, Skip. They still said, Skip, it's just a few bad apples. That's what we get, Skip. When a police officer does something, it's just a bad apple. It's just a bad apple in Chicago. It's a bad apple in Cleveland. It's a bad apple in this place or that place. It's just a bad apple. It's fruit of the poisonous tree. The tree is bad. So we need to chop down the tree, grow some new trees. And what Draymond is saying is like, look, this is it. This is us. And it's heartbreaking, Skip. I just want to know, why did they enable him so long, and why did it have to get to this for you to see what America really is? Why did Skip, it didn't have to get to this. It really didn't. But they let it. And now Godzilla is so big. He's so big, Skip. Now you're thinking about invoking the 25th Amendment. Really? He didn't learn his lesson. This is why he's always operated, Skip. He's always operated, well, do this and I'll do that. But when you are the president, the most powerful person in the land, you can't run a government like that, Skip. But Draymond is absolutely right.
Yeah. Godzilla must go away on January 20th.
Yes.
And overnight, Godzilla, our president...
How much will he eat before he leaves?
Well, that's a whole nother question. I'm going to knock on wood for all of our sakes. Yeah, because he's still got the power to do some big, bad things.
Yes.
But he did, in a message he sent out late last night, almost overnight, he did say it will be an orderly transition. I think he realized late last night he lost every last ally and supporter that he had in Washington.
Skip, why do you think Lee surrendered? Do you think Lee would have surrendered had he not gotten his tail kicked by the Union Army?
Okay.
That was the only reason he surrendered.
When I saw Draymond's remarks very early this morning, they stopped me in my tracks because I sat back and said, man, I thought we'd made a little bit of progress, but maybe he's right. Has anything really changed? It felt like we made little baby steps, bits and pieces of progress through Black Lives Matter, through that whole period post-George Floyd. It seems like it was a little bit of a watershed moment.
Right.
We talked about it again and again on this show. Is that not just some incremental progress? It felt like it to me, but I don't know. I'm having to go from moment to moment.
It's like, Skip, you threw a pebble in the ocean. It caused a little ripple, but it ain't gonna sink no ship.
Look, does this country still have a racist heritage that got passed down from parents to children through the generations?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
And the institutions in which it was set upon, Skip.
Okay, I got it. Donald Trump received 74.2 million votes.
Yes!
A record for a loser.
Yes.
A lot of people voted.
It was a record before a winner, before Biden got 80+ million.
I got it. So he lost by about 7-ish million.
Yes.
Okay? He's still claiming he won by a landslide. I don't know. At least he could say, I barely won and I got robbed on barely winning, but he's saying he won by a landslide.
Well, Skip, he lost the popular last time to Hillary Clinton. But he won with the same electoral votes that President-elect Biden won by.
Yep.
But somehow he won in a landslide, but Hillary Clinton lost. I'm confused.
Okay. I personally would, and I did not vote for Donald Trump, but I would like to think of those 74.2 million that a lot of them by last night were saying, what was I thinking? I would like to think that. Joe Biden did win. You were a fan of Joe Biden's, obviously. Do you not believe in him going forward, that he'll make it a little better for black people in America going forward? I'm
going to take him at his word that he said this is what he was going to do. Now, within the first 100 days, I need some stimulus checks going to people for $2,000. I need the minimum wage brought to $15 an hour. I need
Weren't these campaign promises?
No. See, my grandpa used to always say, boy, promises are like pie crust, thin and easily broken. I need a commitment. Now, you got both houses. And all you need is a simple majority. Democrat. And guess what? You is a 50-50, but you have the Vice President, Kamala Harris, and she counts the deciding votes, so it'll be 51 to 50.
Okay, and just remember, by last night, Mitch McConnell had turned on Donald Trump, okay? But Lindsey Graham had turned on Donald Trump. And finally, Mike Pence had a chance yesterday to try to make a stand for Donald Trump, and he said, no, I can't. I'm out. And Trump dismissed him, right? Said he betrayed me. Okay, just for the record, everybody ran. So you have some momentum going forward to a new day, correct?
Yes, but Skip, as long as Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell was in power, Skip, do you believe they would have turned and run if they hadn't lost those 2 seats in Georgia? Absolutely not, because they still would have controlled it, but they would have.
Okay, but they lost.
Exactly. So that's why they're doing this. Skip, I can't give you, say, oh, they did the morally and ethical thing. Because
I got it. They just lost.
Yes.
It's your General Lee.
Yes,
that's okay, I got it. But what Donald Trump attempted to do yesterday backfired. It blew up in his face, and it will permanently stain his legacy indelibly forever and ever.
Skip, how about when he lose? After he lost, why not just come out and say, I'm saying, Skip, what did the Republican Party do? We're going to give him a chance to, his temper tantrum. We're going to let him come to terms. What do you, Skip, that's not a child. He's not 3, and you taking his toy, and you're going to let him roll around on the ground until he comes to his bed. That's a grown-ass 70-plus-year-old man, and you treat him like a child. Well, he'll come to it, and we just going to give him his space. And all he did was just build up more and more steam. And then he got more and more people on his side. And look what you got. You got yesterday. But it was foreshadowed. Skip, you saw this 4 years in the making. Everybody saw this coming. And they tried to warn Mitch. They tried to warn Lindsey Graham, Tim Scott, Ted Cruz, and all of them. But they wouldn't listen.
Nope. So I'm going to reiterate what happened yesterday. The buildup started on December 19th when our president tweeted, big protest in D.C., January 6th. Be there. Be wild. Be wild? He tweeted this. It went out on Twitter to his billions of followers, right? And they showed up at a big rally at a park, just walking distance from the White House.
Yes.
And it was the Save America rally, and President Trump spoke to them for over an hour. He incited them, and then he enabled them by, I think, sending down an order to basically to the guards.
Go down there.
He told them all, march down to the Capitol, and he greased the skids. It was an inside job because I think they were basically instructed, cease and desist.
Right.
Just let them have their way. They sashayed into our Capitol building. They had to break some windows and scale some balconies. We get that. But did they get much resistance?
No.
No.
So I'm trying to skip. The Save America happened on November 4th. When 81 million Americans, that was Save America.
Okay, I got it. But all these people, these Trump zealots, and remember, they're almost all white. There are a few black people sprinkled in, just for the record.
Yeah.
Okay, but they basically walked into the Capitol building. Did they have guns drawn? Did they have machine guns? Did they have bazookas?
No.
They had no weapons visible. They weren't brandishing any weapons, right?
Yeah.
That some had mace, okay? But that was about it. That's all. Now, there are a couple of pipe bombs left inside. But as far as we are attacking the way we see Banana Republic revolts, right?
Yeah.
The overthrow of the palace.
Yeah.
Doesn't it require some serious
Normally, that's what
weaponry?
normally you have the normally, Skip, when they overthrow, they got the military backing, and they come in and they got the tanks and they push the.
They had nobody backing them, and they sashayed right into the Capitol building, all the way into the floor of the House of the Senate.
Skip.
What?
But we see how
enabled
those people get treated. We see, remember Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street? Ain't nobody get bust up. Ain't nobody got no pepper sprays in it.
It was all peaceful, but whatever. Yeah, go ahead.
We don't get a chance. Dr. King was peaceful. And they bust him up, took the water hose, the cannon, and all that stuff.
Agree.
That's all, Skip. That's all, Skip. People, I don't want people to confuse what I'm saying. I'm not saying any of these people should have been hurt.
Yeah.
But I'm saying none of our people should have been hurt.
Again, just for the record, none, absolute, you're, so to speak, dead right.
That's it.
But 4 died inside the Capitol building.
Right.
I'm not sure how, I know a woman got shot in the throat.
Right.
But 3 others died, and they're a little sketchy on how they died. But 4 died, and I think there are 52 arrested. So once they got inside very easily, because they were enabled by the guy sitting in the Oval Office, there was resistance inside.
Right.
Okay.
It should have been. Skip, and you can't stop labeling these people patriots.
No. Patriots.
And that's what
We're talking about Draymond. Draymond called them terrorists, and I say they're traitorous.
Yes, but that's the thing. He labeled them as patriots. Ivana Trump had something on her time, but she later deleted. They're patriots. That's what they. Oh, you're a patriot. You're not a patriot by doing this. Trying to overthrow your government doesn't make you a patriot. They normally hang people for that.
I'm telling you, I hope it's the last act of a desperate man.
No, Skip.
I hope.
They should got to get him. He's dangerous. You don't give a person that kind. You don't give a person that's impulsive like him. But Hillary, look, I'm not saying people should have voted for Hillary, but she tried to warn you. She tried to warn you 4 or 5 years ago what would happen. Everybody tried to warn you. Skip, he gonna pivot. He'll become presidential. No, when you get that kind of power, you become more of what you already are. That kind of power, it takes a special type of person, Skip, to have that kind of power and don't abuse it. He's abused it from the day he got in office.
Listen, yesterday, those were the actions of a madman.
Yes. And
we got 13 days.
And those who enabled him.
Yep, I agree. Nope, I agree.
So, okay, President-elect Biden, I know what you committed to. A lot of people put their necks on the line for you. Stacey Abrams, Lance Bottoms, LaToya Brown, all those guys, T.I., everybody. There's a lot of whites that said, okay, we want a better America.
They did.
Okay, let's deliver. Let's give the people what you said you could do.
I kept thinking about watching it and not believing it was here in America and just kind of being embarrassed that this is who we are as a country and how divided we still remain. I think back on our conversations, guys, in May about being better, and we're not there yet.
Nope,
like, there's just still so much to do, and I hope that we can continue to just have these conversations, educate ourselves. It should be uncomfortable because it is uncomfortable and it is embarrassing, and it was a dark day in American history, and we are going to continue to process it the best that we can.
No mercy.
Get ready for Super Wildcard Weekend for the first time ever. It's 2 days of triple headers. Super Wildcard Weekend kicks off Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be one wild Wildcard Weekend. Looking forward to it. Cannot start soon enough. Well, Bill Belichick and the Patriots were clearly not the same team without Tom Brady this season. 7-9, it was the worst regular season since 2000 in New England, and defensively, they weren't even the same team. From 2019 to this season, the Patriots' drop in defensive expected points added was nearly twice as bad as any other team from year to year. So, Shannon, how much did this year's 7-9 record taint Belichick's legacy?
I don't think it taints it at all, Skip. I really don't. There was a decline and the defense speaks to the level of consistency in which they played at such a very long time. If you look at the defensive rank in 2019, Skip, they were #1 in scoring, and they've been ranked #1 since 2000. If you look at overall defense for basically 2 decades. And you look at last year, they were 7th in scoring. They were 7th in this year in scoring, which isn't bad. They were 1st last year. While they were 27th in offense this year, they were 7th in last year. And I think the thing is, last year, the defense took the ball away a lot more last year than what they did this year, Skip. The opt-outs, Chung, Hightower, which were starters. Stephon Gilmore missed 5 games, who's their best defensive player, who was the reigning defensive player of the year, Skip. And so I think that had a lot to do with it. But Coach Belichick has a legacy like Jordan. Jordan went to Washington, And nobody thinks any less of Michael Jordan because of what he had accomplished in his earlier career. He got those 6 titles. It was almost like he didn't. So for me, I don't know what Coach Belichick could do.
So do you think Bill's in his Washington phase now?
No. I'm just saying. Now, look, a lot of people going to say, see, I told you. Some people ding him because of Spygate. Some people ding him because of Deflategate. Some people say, well, all the cheating, Skip, he ain't going to be in my top 5 because of all the cheating that goes along with him. But for me, I don't believe this harms his legacy because he's, like you said, Skip, Brady is 6 for 9. His head coach is also 6 for 9. And so I don't think this harms his legacy. We're going to see they have, what, $58 million in cap space next year. We're going to see they need a quarterback. They need some pieces.
Yep.
We're going to see if he's the architect that everybody believes that he is, or was he just being carried. Don't be Mike McCarthy. Because what we're seeing by Mike McCarthy, and I believe he's 50, 100 trillion times better than Mike McCarthy. But people are starting to see Mike McCarthy's success was tied to 2 quarterbacks.
Yep.
Coach Belichick does not want his legacy, doesn't want his success tied entirely to Tom Brady. So we're going to see. I'm going to give him next year and maybe the year after to see if he can make the playoffs.
Okay.
But it's not going to be easy because Buffalo is here to stay and Miami seems to be on the up.
They seem to be. I believe that the 2020 season has begun to harm Belichick's legacy because I think you began to see him get exposed, not only as a coach, but even more so as a team builder. By example, quick flashback for you. I covered all those Cowboy teams all the way back into the 70s. Gil Brandt, who's still going strong for NFL.com.
He broke his leg the other day. Yeah, he broke his leg, yeah.
I hope he's all right.
Yeah,
he's getting up there.
Yeah, he is.
He's the last survivor of that holy trinity that ran those Cowboys of Tex Schramm, Gil Brandt, and Tom Landry.
Right.
Okay, for those who have no idea, Gil Brandt back in the day, he was the draft master.
Yeah, done.
He knew where all the nuggets were, all the diamonds
Randy White, the lilies.
He got them all. He went to Langston University way up in central Oklahoma and got Hollywood Henderson, right?
Yeah.
And
a linebacker that ran back kickoffs. How many linebackers do you know run
kickoffs? He dunked over the crossbar at a playoff game out here after he picked 6. I think it was Pat Hayden, and dunked over the crossbar. What an athlete Thomas was.
He was.
I knew him well. The point was, all of a sudden, Gil Brandt started feeling himself, and he started to believe his own genius, and then he kept thinking, well, I got to keep reaching in the first round. I got to reach for somebody nobody's even heard of.
Right.
So he reached we got to the 80s, the early 80s, 81, 82, 83, 84. He's reach, swing and miss, swing and miss. Swing. He had made Tom Landry, and then he broke Tom Landry because Tom had little to nothing to do with the drafting.
Right.
And all of a sudden, Tom just didn't have any players.
Right.
Well, Bill is his own Gil Brandt.
Yeah.
Right?
And the thing is, Skip, all the good players that Gil had gotten him in the 60s and 70s had gotten old come 80s, and he wasn't restocking that.
He wasn't restocking. Nope. And they got really bad.
Yes.
And they hit bottom, as you know, in 1988 when they hit 3-13 bottom.
Right.
Gave Jimmy and Jerry the first pick in the draft.
Correct.
Okay. So the point is, Bill Belichick is his own Gil Brandt to the point that he buys the groceries.
Right.
Man, I don't know about his grocery buying because I think it got camouflaged how bad it was by Tom Brady. That's why I gave Tom 75% of the credit because you still had the GOAT at quarterback.
He might have been buying some terrible ingredients, and that chef, which is Tom Brady, was cooking that thing up, and you didn't really know how bad it was.
Cooking it up. Thank you very much. That's what I think we'll see because I'm going to remind everybody that before Tom Brady, Bill Belichick as a head coach in Cleveland for 5 years and then in obviously New England for a year and 2 games, was 41-57. So he was 16 games under 500 until he got Brady.
Right.
And I give you, he's a defensive mastermind.
Yes.
I give you that. He's up there with Buddy Ryan or whoever else you want to put up in that equation for defensive brilliance.
Bud Carson, who was the D coordinator of the Steelers, the 70s.
Jim Johnson with the Eagles back in the day. Okay, we get that. And I give you all the above. But that's not his title because he runs the whole show. He's the head coach and the personnel director.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you start to evaluate what happened last year, well, the cupboard was already starting to get bare, and then all of a sudden you had the 2 opt-outs, Hightower and Chung you talked about, and then mass exodus. Kyle Van Noy, Landon Roberts, they go south to Miami, right? And then Jamie Collins gone, Danny Shelton gone, Deron Harmon traded. I believe that Bill started to believe his own genius, like, it doesn't matter, I'll show you, I can still do it with nothing.
They believe that, Skip.
Okay.
I mean, all great
do.
Believe is them.
Yeah, and it wasn't him last year because he didn't have a quarterback.
No.
He had a decent. I thought Cam played really well for a while, but he ran it a little better than he threw it.
Right.
And they had to completely revamp their approach. I actually thought Cam had a pretty good year.
So let me ask you this, Skip. What do you think their record would have been had they had Brady? Same talent, same level of opt-outs. What do you believe their record would have been?
Did he restock the cupboard at receiver?
No.
None.
No.
I don't know.
No, I'm saying the exact same. Everything stays the same. The only difference is Brady's the quarterback. Edelman gets hurt, misses a substantial amount of time. Everything is exactly the same. The only difference is
just because I believe in Brady so much and he showed you he still got it at 43, I believe they could have won 2 more games. Where would 9 of 7 have gotten them?
Nothing, nowhere.
Nowhere.
Because 11-5 is what made the playoffs.
Yep.
So, you need to make it.
I mean, when you have no help, and trust me, there are many nights Tom Brady's sitting back watching Cam play on whatever night football it was, thinking, man, I feel for the guy because I know how that feels.
I know what it's like.
Yep. And it was rough, man. Yeah. Because you're throwing to just a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
And he even lost to Edelman.
And Tom knew. Tom was starting to see it because he was up close. He got an opportunity to see it before everybody else from the outside got an opportunity to see it. And so he's like, okay. He wanted to stay, Skip. He just wanted someone to, like, you know what? I really shouldn't stay. But you know what? If you show me that you really want me, I'll stay.
Yeah.
And Coach Belichick said, nah, Tom, you know. And that's all he wanted to hear.
What do you think Tom is thinking when he suddenly becomes a free agent and he says, do I want Mike Evans or Jacoby Myers? Right?
He's like, first, and he's thinking this is what he really thought. If they really wanted me, I'd have never became a free agent. This is the first time I've ever been a free agent.
Yep.
Because in all my 20 years, they wanted me. For the very first time, Skip, I'm a free agent. You didn't want me. And then by the time they realized it, and Mr. Kraft tried to talk to him, Tom Hart was already on out the door. Because he was already had like 1 foot out the door, Skip, because Coach Belichick, he's like, and then...
Okay, so there's only one way Bill Belichick is going to start saving his legacy, start reproving his genius. He better go find a quarterback.
You got to
do
capable? You got to do that.
Has John Elway been able to find a quarterback since Peyton knocked on John's door?
I don't care how good your head coach is. I don't care how good your organization is, general manager, how great the structure. If you don't have that guy.
If you don't have it, you got nothing.
Stop wasting time.
Yeah, like John Elway the other day stepped upstairs, right? He said, well, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'll be the, president?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you look back at the run of quarterbacks, and it's just, is Drew Lock the answer? I don't think so, but I didn't love him coming out of the draft.
Osweiler wasn't the answer.
No.
Paxton Lynch wasn't the answer. Trevor Siemian was not the answer.
Okay, so you don't have a quarterback.
No.
Bill, you better find one.
You better find it. Yep. If you don't get him, you spinning your wheels, Skip.
Oof. An interesting season for Patriots fans, really. Different for them to experience this one.
No mercy.
Well, the Eagles are still taking plenty of heat for benching Jalen Hurts for Nate Sudfeld in their season finale loss to Washington. Cowboys great Emmitt Smith told Sports Illustrated that the message Philly sent was that it's okay to quit on the football field, something he never learned growing up. Former Eagles and Cowboys cornerback Orlando Scandrick is joining us now. Orlando, good morning. So what do you think really happened with the Eagles on Sunday night?
I think they made a business decision. It was either bench Jalen Hurts, put in Sudfeld, and get the 6th pick, or have a chance at winning the game. Emmitt Smith has been known to be a harsh critic. He was a really, really harsh critic when I was in Dallas. I mean, he's a great player in this league, won a lot of Super Bowls, but sometimes I think that he just talks to hear himself talk because I don't think that they quit at all. I think it was a business decision. They had a win does nothing for you, and they're just trying to look for their future going forward.
For me, I look, Emmett, my dog, me and Emmett, we came in together, Skip. We used to hang together early in our careers. But how do you say the players quit? The players didn't quit. Doug Peterson made a decision. All they can do is if he says, you're not dressing, you're not dressing, you're not dressing, what am I supposed to do, Man, I'm dressing. My uniform better be in my locker.
Players play, coaches coach.
Yes.
Well, was Emmett's suggestion the coaches quit?
And he said the Eagles quit. I guess he said, I don't know, he said the Eagles. So I guess he means as an organization. Look, I don't want, if anybody else, if I'm a player on the team and I got a comment, I don't want to hear anything from the Giants. I don't want to hear anything from the Cowboys because you're selfish. You're upset. First of all, Emmett, your Cowboys quit. I don't even want to talk about what they did against Cleveland. And I don't want to talk about what they did against Arizona. And I don't want to talk about what they did the last game. So even if the Eagles had beat Washington, you wouldn't have won because your team got beat Sunday earlier.
My team quit at Washington.
Yes.
For sure.
So I don't want to hear anything about any from other the players. Like I said, Joe Judge was right. He's just the wrong messenger to deliver that message.
Yep.
For me, I just don't understand why on 4th and goal, you don't take the field goal from the 4-yard line. You kick the field goal. If you want to do Nate Sudfeld, I think what happened is that Jalen Hurts played so well early, Skip, they was up 14, and the next thing you know, man, I was thinking we're going to be behind in this game, and you put Nate Sudfeld in a game that you already losing by 10, 17 points. Nobody blinks an eye.
Nope.
But you're in a situation to actually win the game, and you put Nate Sudfeld. Now, that's when all the questions start to arise. Now, I've seen something like this happen before. I've seen guys in the preseason, I know you've seen it. Mm-hmm. When they don't normally play guys in that last preseason game, what that mean, they're going to move on. You're not going to build that roster. For them to totally deactivate Carson Wentz.
I agree.
Without running the risk of getting him injured because they're on the hook for that injury settlement, Skip.
Yep.
It seems to me it's more likely that they're going to probably move on down the road from Carson Wentz.
I would agree. So, Orlando, in the brief time you were with the Eagles, did you practice against Nate Sudfeld at all?
Yeah, I did. I practiced against Suddy. Suddy was actually the backup quarterback.
Suddy.
He's a great. I think he's a great kid. But I think going into this game, they already had a plan. They didn't want to win this game. They wanted to play Jalen, give him some more experience. Then they wanted to put Sudfeld in, and then they wanted to, they thought they had no chance at winning. They're looking forward to the draft. They're trying to evaluate some other players. They're playing a lot of backups. They deactivated a lot of guys. You see, they had guys that didn't push through. They wanted to use it as a 4th preseason game and see who can give them some value and what they can do going forward. But they're absolutely right to want to get a higher draft pick. Who would not want a higher draft pick? Between 6 and 9, that's a franchise-changing draft pick.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. I got you, 9 down to 6. But I saw it different than you saw it because Doug Peterson is pretty full of himself. This is a guy who wrote a book entitled Fearless after he beat Bill Belichick and Tom Brady in a Super Bowl 41-33 with the Super Bowl MVP, Nick Foles. I believe that Dougie P, as Shannon calls him, saw some Nick Foles in the guy you call Suddy, Nate Sudfeld, because he's 6 feet 6 inches tall.
Yep.
And he's got a nice arm, but sort of like Foles. Foles just has a nice arm. It's not a cannon. But Sudfeld knows that offense and can operate that offense probably a little better from the pocket than Jalen can at this point in his development. So after the game, Peterson said, I was playing to win. And then the second day, on Monday, he said, hey, I thought we had a little better chance with Nate running our offense throwing than Jalen throwing in the 4th quarter.
Well, then why not just play Suddy from the start then?
Well, I think he wanted to. I think his heart was telling him that's the way to go.
No, his boss was telling him that's the way to go.
I don't know about that.
I do.
Not sure.
Nobody wants to get fired. And tell you one thing about this league, and Sharp, you can tell me this. It's 2 kind of coaches. Coaches that's been fired and it's coaches that's going to get fired. Yep. And, he wants to prolong his job. And somewhere along the line that week, it had been discussed that they were going to play Sudfeld at some point in that game, and that's what they were going to do. Winning the game meant nothing to them. Nobody's ever going to remember that game. After the draft, no one's going to be talking about that game.
And I've been reading this earlier that 3 of the offensive staffs have been members have been let go by Doug Peterson at the urging of the organization. And so we're going to see how this plays out. Skip, I think Dougie Peterson sees Sudfeld as himself.
He does.
That's where he looks at himself like, that's me. Let me get this kid because
he got a shot later, and Andy Reid took him to Philadelphia from Green Bay.
Green Bay, correct.
And gave him a nice deal to be his starting quarterback. Right. Andy's first year was at 99.
99. And remember, he ended up tutoring Donovan McNabb.
He did.
So.
Okay. So, to me, Doug Peterson not just set his bridge on fire with Carson Wentz, he burned that bridge to the ground.
Yeah.
And I think he set a bridge on fire with Jalen Hurts because you don't do that to a kid. I don't care whether the game mattered or not. You should have let Jalen finish the game. Jalen's sitting over on the bench saying, it's not right.
But when he set Jalen Hurts into his office this offseason and said, with this number 6 pick, with this 3-pick hire that we got in the first round and 3-pick hire in the second round, we're going to get you some help going forward. He going to understand.
Yeah, but you know what? You're right. He probably will. But that's something you go to the young man and you tell him, say, Jalen, we're going to let you play a couple.
He clearly did not know.
He didn't know. That might have been your thought process. Oh, but you go to Jalen Hurts, say, Jalen, we're going to let you play. You're going to play 2.5 quarters, and that's going to be it. We're going to bring Sudfeld in. Explain that to him. Let him talk. But don't get him out there. He ball and think he's about to win the game. Then all of a sudden, hey, coach say you down.
Yep.
Because they probably call, and the quarterback coach, hey, Jalen, you down. Nate's in. You're like, huh? We only down 3 points. What you mean he's in?
It was odd.
So, Orlando, if you'd still been an Eagle on Sunday night, how would you have felt during the fourth quarter of that game?
They was already packed it in. They bags was packed. You got 2 cars. One of them was sent home already. They packed it in already. They packed it in the week
that's
before.
Not the report. The reports all said that there are a bunch of angry players on the sideline, and 2 of them approached Doug Peterson, starting with Kelsey, and said, hey, what's up with this?
Man, if you believe that, I got some oceanfront property in Idaho.
But, look, we're not going anywhere. They already scheduled to have the power turned off late Monday afternoon. The cars are already picked up. They've probably been living in an apartment for the last 2 weeks anyway, closed out the lease on their own apartment or playing to the end. Yeah, they've probably been in an apartment because we know we're not going anywhere, so ain't no sense in me playing an extra month's rent, $2,000 when I can play, a couple of $100 a night for a hotel room. But I would have been just disappointed. Being in that situation, if I'm out here, I'm going to play to win. Don't do me like this. Go ahead and tell me, just go ahead and sit me down from the jump. Because if I get out there and I start playing and it look like I got a chance to win, and you start taking people out that can help me win, I'm going to act a fool.
So before we go, I need to acknowledge publicly that Orlando won a case of Diet Mountain Dew from me.
I tried to tell you.
On Sunday. And I don't think Orlando drinks Diet. I think he wants the hard stuff. He wants straight Mountain Dew, so I'll have to go there.
Just transfer my tab to Sharp. Okay. I know he's down there.
But the point is, my Dallas Cowboys dominated the second half at Giants.
Oh, you hear this?
46 plays to only 23 run by the Giants, and we were right on course to score 26 points. Our bet was 25 or fewer. We were on course to score 26 until my coach stood on the sideline looking up at the replay of a Dante Pettis catch that was not a catch and didn't throw his red challenge flag. We would have had them. They would have punted to us, and here we would have come, and we would have won the game with 26 points. Thank you very much.
Common sense is not always common, Skip. It's not.
Orlando, thank you for donating your due to Shannon. I know he really appreciates that. Thank you. He's got to, make up for a couple losses there. We appreciate your time. Orlando, we'll check in with you very soon.
No mercy.
For the first time ever, it's 2 days of triple headers. Super Wildcard Weekend kicks off Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be an awesome Wildcard Weekend, and we are counting down. We get to watch plenty of football, including this guy. Tom Brady and the Bucs are now tied for the 5th best odds to win the Super Bowl, according to Fox Bet Sportsbook. Tampa has heated up heading into the postseason, and Pro Football Focus even said Brady is legitimately on fire entering the playoffs. I love that quote. That makes me happy. Shannon, how shocked would you be if the Bucs made it to the Super Bowl?
Shocked? I don't know if shocked would be the term that I would use, but I'd be very surprised, Skip. We've seen the Bucs beat up on bad teams and look very good in doing it, and we've seen them struggle against very good teams. And one of the teams that they struggled against was the New Orleans Saints, which will be one of the teams they'll have to go through in order to beat. And we see them play the Packers, in which they dismantle the Packers. And so he's catching a real good break that he's facing a team that offensively I don't think poses them the challenge that they're going to see when they face Green Bay and when they face the New Orleans Saints. So I think they get an opportunity to get their feet wet early on in the postseason. But Skip, Brady, to get to the Super Bowl, he's going to have to win 3 road playoff games. Brady has only played 4 road playoff games in his entire playoff career. And he would have to play 3. He's 4-4, Skip, record on the road. So it's going to be very, very, this year. And if you look at
where 2 of those losses were in your old stadium.
Yes. So, Skip, I think the thing is that for me, can Brady, who on the road, we know what he represents at home, I just don't know if he can withstand, especially New Orleans. I think New Orleans posed a bigger risk than the Packers because I trust the Saints defense more than I trust the Packers. I might trust Aaron Rodgers in the offense, but if you can't get Brady on the ground, if you can't get around his feet, if you can't make him uncomfortable, you're going to catch the Dickens beating him. And I think New Orleans can do that because they've shown the one that he's had the most trouble. He's lost 5 games this year, but the most trouble he's had is against the Saints. So, Skip, shocked is not the term I'm going to use.
Okay.
I'm going to use 2 variants. I'll be very, very surprised if they won the Super Bowl.
It would kill you if they won the Super Bowl. It would destroy your psyche on the show if they won the Super Bowl.
Well, if Alabama won the national championship, LeBron, I mean, I can't be greedy, Skip. I can't win the NBA title back-to-back years, Alabama win the national championship, and get my homeboy to win the Super Bowl. Is that possible? I mean, sweepstakes wouldn't be all bad.
It's possible. But it's also possible that Tampa Bay is going to get to the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Right? The first ever home Super Bowl played by this team, the Buccaneers. Yeah. Okay, so the sports books are queasy right now because the Buccaneers are at 12-1. They're down at 5th best odds to win the Super Bowl, and the money is starting to pour in on 12-1 because if
they win the first game, it's going to be down to 5-1.
Yeah. But those bets are going to stand at 12-1 to win the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Okay. So the point is that all of a sudden the Bucs caught fire. And the reason they caught fire, to me, was, albeit against shaky, weak competition, but they're still pro football teams that they're playing against. They caught fire because Antonio Brown started to get his legs up underneath him. And I started to see a little more quickness than I saw for the first 3 or 4 games. Right. And it took a while because he joined them when they were 6-2, and it looked like they were starting to take off then. But Brady said, no, we can really take off. We're going to have to pay now to be paid back later if we can figure Antonio out on the fly over the back half of the season. What was the first night he played? It was a Sunday night, New Orleans at Tampa Bay, right? And they got shellacked. They got humiliated. They got embarrassed on national TV on Sunday night, right? And Antonio was hit and miss, and then he got a little more of the run in the offense. He got a few more targets, and all of a sudden, he hit the lottery on targets against Atlanta in the final home game because what did he throw him?
Threw him like 13 targets. He caught 11 balls.
Whew, 11 balls. And all of a sudden, he started looking like Antonio. Tom Brady loves Antonio, right?
But what Brady always did, Skip, where he didn't always give him 8, 9 targets. He always tried to keep him involved. He always threw him 4 or 5 targets.
He did.
He always hey, don't think we might not be clicking, but don't think I'm not trying to get you to rock.
Which is why we didn't hear a peep out of Antonio about, I need some more catches. Right? Okay. So now, I don't know if Mike Evans is going to be able to go. He tweaked his knee, and it was only a tweak. Hyperextended, went backward. But they said he's day-to-day. He's got a chance. So at least he's there and not lost for the playoffs. If they have their full complement going forward, that offense is a handful.
It is.
And it would be a handful for the Packers to stop also.
Yes.
In fact, I give Washington a better chance against that offense than I would give the Packers because Washington has the antidote. They've got the kryptonite. Can they get pressure with 4? If they can, it's going to be a long, hard battle on Saturday night.
The Packers have gotten better. I like the Packers back end better than I like Washington's back end.
With that.
But I might take Washington's front end more than I like the Packers. But the Smith brothers and Clark and they got the guy from Michigan, Skip. What's
Gary.
Yeah, Rashawn Gary. He's been playing well.
He has. He started to come alive.
Yeah.
I didn't love him coming out in the draft, but I've seen a couple little flashes from him.
Zadarius Smith has been good. Preston Smith has come along since they stopped. They were using Preston Smith wrong. They dropping him too much in coverage. He's covering the tight end up the seam. He's a rush backer. Let him rush.
Okay, so just hypothetically, if they got through Aaron at Aaron,
yes,
then here we'd go. Third time's a charm. Brady at Breeze.
Right.
This would be enormous theater to watch. But can you beat Tom Brady 3 times in a year?
Well, the thing is, Skip, I used to say, man, my brother used to beat me. He beat me 150 times because he was just better. So sometimes if you're just better, I would say it's hard to beat somebody.
You're talking about basketball.
Right.
Backyard basketball.
Yeah, basketball. We play a lot of different things. The question is, Skip, have they solved? Hendrickson's going to be the key. Hendrickson reminds me of Jared Allen, a guy that's relentless in it. Skip, because he did a number. He was doing a number on my homeboy.
No, I got
he was doing a number on Fisher.
So listen, Tristan Wirfs at right tackle, a rookie.
Yeah.
He's gotten better and better and better.
Okay, well, that's Cam Jordan. That's Rankins. That's those guys. We'll see what you got.
I hope we get to see what.
No mercy.
Well, the Lakers are a 7.5-point favorite over the Spurs tonight, according to Fox Bet Sportsbook. It'll be the third time in a week these two faced off after Shannon won a do bet with Skip when LA swept them last week. So, Shannon, will you give Skip the 7.5 points for a case of dew tonight?
7.5.
I absolutely
going once.
Will not.
Why not?
Because
I deserve it.
You got LaMarcus back. So
I do. I got snookered twice. Coach Pop gave LeBron 2 Christmas presents in San Antonio because he felt sorry for him. Got stuck in the hotel in San Antonio.
Hold on. You the one that talking about you needed LaMarcus like he Tim Duncan. So now you got the little Tim Duncan back. Yeah. So now you should give me 7.
Give you what? Yeah. You took 2 cases. You stole them from me.
I got to no. You always gloating. The Hall of Famer. I don't know how you got to be a Hall of Famer when I got 50 cases of do bets one. So now I'm going to get it back to show you how I became a Hall of Famer. By being smart. No points.
Patty Mills owes me.
Okay.
Because he had only 2 threes in each of those 2 games. Okay. And he has a career high 8 threes against the Clippers the other night. What are you doing to me, Patty? What is it? I'll take 4 threes from Patty tonight, and I'll take 6 points.
No.
Come on.
I tell you, what I do, Skip, since it's you. I do 4.
4?
I do 4 points.
Let's do 5.
4.
5.5.
4.5. I do 4.5.
I'll do 5.5.
4.5. Nope.
Oh, stop it.
Skip,
you already got me.
And you had to transfer another case of due to me from Orlando. So you down like 6 or 7.
And by the way, you realize off the Belichick versus Brady bet, you just swept that under the carpet.
What we
I won 5 on that.
No.
Right?
I bought out early for 3.
Did.
I bought out early for 3.
Okay. 3?
Yeah.
Okay,
I bought out early.
Count those.
Oh, really good stuff today, guys. We will break down everything from the Spurs and Lakers tomorrow. I'm looking forward to seeing that one go down tonight. The herd is on right now. Have a good day, guys.